Welcome back to class, everyone. For today's class, we are going to be looking at the types
Hello
of.
everyone, welcome to class. My name is Tim Olajide Arishi and I'm your facilitator for BUS 205 Introduction to Business. For today's class, we are going to be talking about the types of businesses. This promises to be an exciting class, so sit back and enjoy. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to class. My name is Timi Olajide Arishi, and I'm your facilitator for BUS 205 Introduction to Business. For today's class, we are going to be talking about the types of businesses. This promises to be an exciting class, so sit back and enjoy. Thank you. So welcome back to class again. For today's lesson, we are going to be talking about types of businesses. My name still remains Temi Olajide Arishe, and today marks October 5th, 2020. The topics to be covered in lesson 2 are the definition of a sole trader, the characteristics of a sole trader, which we can also call features of a sole trader, the sources of funds of a sole trader, the advantages of a sole trader, and lastly, the disadvantages of a sole trader. And our lesson objectives on topic 1. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to describe a sole trader. You should be able to evaluate the features of a sole trader. You should be able to explain sources of funds of a sole trader, and you should be able to understand the advantages of a sole trader. And lastly, you should be able to analyze the disadvantages of a sole trader. So let's start from the first objective, which is describe a sole trader. So who is a sole trader? By definition or by principle, a sole trader is somebody, or rather it's a one-man business, or it's or a business who is owned by one person. That's the simple definition of who a sole trader is. So it's a business which is owned by just one person. And we are going to be talking about also the features of a sole trader here. So what are the characteristics of features of a sole trader? Number one, risk taking. For a one-man business, the individual actually takes risk. By setting up his business, he takes the risk. If anything happens to the business, everything is upon him. So he's a risk taker. So the second feature we have here is basically his sources from personal funds. One of those features is that for him to start up his business, he or she must have had his or her personal funds, whereby he or she can set up his business or her business. And also one of the features here is of a sole trader is he tries as much as possible to take up responsibilities of his business. He doesn't share the responsibility of his business to any other person. He takes everything up. He has multiple roles. He is the accountant, he is the marketer and everything. So he takes responsibilities of his or her business. And we move on to explain the sources of funds of a sole trader. One major sources of fund of a sole trader is usually the personal savings. We have many source of funds, but the particular one in which most people do is to save up their money to establish their businesses. And another one we'll have here is from contributions, maybe thrift. They save up, they collect the money, maybe savings from thrift and all that stuff. Then another one we have is collecting money from friends and family, borrowing from friends or family members. And another one is collecting from microfinances bank. Like today now we have so many microfinances bank who actually promote SMEs, small and medium scale enterprise, to be able to boost their business. So those are other sources of funds of a sole trader. Then we have the advantages of a sole trader. And one of the advantages is that it's profit making. Every profit that the sole trader makes is to him. he doesn't have any partner or anybody to share the profits with. So basically the profit, goes to him or her. And another advantage we have there is that, um, he takes up the responsibility, like I earlier said. He is the one-man person. He does everything by himself, and he's not answerable to anybody. He takes up decision making by himself. Every decision that is being taken, he doesn't need to wait for anybody to come and tell him, oh, you need to do this or you need to set up this. No, he takes the decision by himself. Then we move on to the disadvantage of a sole trader. One of the disadvantage of being a sole trader is the death of the owner is usually the death of the business, the death of the business, sorry. So once the owner dies, then that's the end of the business. And another disadvantage we have there is that he takes the risk. If anything happens to the business, if he makes a wrong decision, then that's the end of the business. So that's another thing. The risk is usually upon him. If anything bad happens to the business, then the business goes down the drain. So I think we've come to an end of discussing about the kinds of business, and from our objective, I hope you've been able to learn one or two things describing, who a sole trader is. And so the summary of lesson 2, basically, you have learned in this lesson, the features of a sole trader, the sources of funds where the sole trader gets his money from to finance his business, its advantages, the disadvantages, and the definition of a sole trader. And we move on to the next lesson. And for the next lesson, we are going to be learning about, who or what a partnership is. And it's like I said in our lesson notes, it's always better for us to actually try and, look into our next topic, so that when we come to class, we will be able to have, prior knowledge of what we have learned, and we'll be able to communicate freely, and we'll be able to understand better. Okay, so it's bye for now. I still remain Temi Olajide Arise, and my email is here for your disposal. So if you have any question, or if you have any doubts about anything, you can always send me a mail. So thank you for listening, and God bless you. Have a lovely day. Bye.